on? Welcome back to Getting Technical, episode 40, landmark episode.
Really?
Hell yeah.
Wow.
We got Sean on again for the first time in a while. We got Burke again.
Some monster guys over here.
Yeah,
White Can. Everybody knows White Can.
White Can monster.
Everybody knows White Can's the best. Everybody.
How you guys doing? Playoffs?
Yeah, ready to rock and roll some playoffs this week, man.
My boys are in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I wish, how does somebody from Long Island become an Eagles fan?
There's like a lot of them.
I've always been one. I don't have a reason why.
Are you so Philly's hat, obviously. Are you an all Philadelphia fan?
No, just Eagles.
You a Mets fan?
I don't don't watch baseball.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I was like, Jesus.
Well, that hat also.
It's a combo.
It's a combo hat.
It's actually a pretty sick hat.
I'm not gonna lie, I love everything about that hat except the fact it was just a random eagle coming out of the peak.
I used to have a green one, but
it's just kind of weird.
That one makes more sense, a green one.
Yeah.
But so we got. Oh, what were you saying?
I'm Eagles, Rangers, and Knicks.
All right, so pretty standard outside of the Eagles.
Do you have Philly family, or it's just like
No.
growing up?
Donovan, the logo?
You saw Donovan McNabb
First autograph I ever got.
throwing the team. Really?
Big Don.
Ah, that's a good one. Fucking Donovan McNabb just slinging it to T.O.
Yeah, I've been one since I was like 5. I don't even think T.O. was on the team yet.
No. Brian Westbrook days.
The GOAT.
The OG days.
The GOAT.
But yeah, so we got the first round of the playoffs coming up, wild card week. Last week was like the worst week I can remember in recent history for the NFL.
Oh, when you're sitting all year, like
It's
a
just
lot
like-
of teams just sitting guys, and like some guy like A.J. Brown got hurt. That's like terrible for your Eagles.
Didn't a few other guys, Jalen Hurts, like his finger like popped out of his socket completely.
Yeah, they called it swan. It's called swan neck. So it didn't break anything, but it definitely dislocated.
Just like
It was disgusting to look at, to be honest.
Haven't thrown a ball since Sunday. Did you guys see what he said today?
No, what did he say?
He said, he had a press conference. He goes, I probably shouldn't have gone back in the game. That was a bad idea. Yeah, dude. You probably should have.
It's probably not, especially since like half the league was not playing that day either.
And he hasn't thrown a ball since.
You're sitting out there, you're trying to beat the Giants. Hey, Marcus Mariota should be able to beat the Giants.
I think they were down 21-0 at that point. Too.
It's just what is going on?
Especially when the Giants are they should be trying to. They won that game though. The Giants.
I mean, look,
they should be trying to lose.
Yeah,
I know. People always say it's why aren't they losing? Why aren't they tanking?
It's impossible.
Well, it's not even that, but it's just as a player, you're playing for a job the next year. I can't just go out there in the last 3-4 weeks of the season, for the Jets and Giants, and just not play good, trying to lose games. And be I'm not gonna have a job. Everyone's gonna look at this Mekhi Becton might not have a job next year because he's been. I know. I'm saying, but he's been bad. But imagine he was just they're just he's purposely being bad. No.
Well, that's another thing with football is you really can't do that because there's such a high risk for getting injured.
Right.
If you take a playoff or you're half-assing it.
But
you could get clocked, something
especially now. It's it's all these guys. It's just it's trying to you're always trying to maximize your contracts and everything. So right now, Bryce Huff, he went out and had a good last few games. And they're are you going to take a hometown discount? He's absolutely not. He's I'm going to go out there. And he's I'm taking the biggest deal. He's I owe it to myself, to my family, to take the biggest. And he's so right. He's why would you ever do that? Why would you leave money on the table just because you want to try and help a team's draft pick? Some guy that could potentially be taking your job next year.
Yeah.
Get fucked.
Yeah, but also it's unless you're we've seen it in the past with guys like Brady who are established, and then in basketball we saw Dirk do it. I think Tim Duncan. It makes sense if you're one of these mainstream everyone knows you. You've made hundreds of millions of dollars in your career. Then it makes sense to take a hometown discount. But when you're a guy like Bryce Huff, who most people, unless you're really into football, you don't know who he is.
But you're going for your first big time contract,
exactly.
So you need to go out there and perform for 17 games.
100%.
They need to see that.
You gotta get the bag. He's gonna get it.
Even a guy like Jadeveon Clowney, who plays on a different team every year. I've never seen him celebrate so hard after he got that sack. That wasn't even really a sack.
Chris Jones did the same thing. Where he got it was $1 million bonus for that last sack. Bro, you wouldn't have been able. It would have been delay a game after delay a game. I would have been yo, I just want $1 million. Go fuck yourselves. We're not playing this next play. I'll be offsides. Don't care.
I don't know.
Celebrating.
I don't know if you guys watch New Heights with the Kelsey brothers, but Travis Kelsey, he was 15 yards away from getting a 1,000-yard season, and he sat, and he was it was a tough decision. The team was go for it. He was it just didn't feel right to stat pads, stuff like that. But
you want to talk about stat padding?
But Jason Kelsey asked him on the podcast. Jason was if there was like $1 million incentive, like would you be out there? He's like, you bet your ass I'd be out there. I'd be fucking ready to go.
Oh, you want to talk about stat padding and then just an absolute just brutal display on the Jets? Some mathematician on the sideline was just like, no, Breece Hall already has 1,000 yards. Don't worry about it. Comes up 6 yards shy.
Oh my god, I didn't know that.
Like they were like, oh, we could have like. I mean, I don't know if there's any incentive money or anything, but it was just like just having the 1,000-yard season under his belt.
Yeah,
and it was just like so. Robert Saleh, like, I guess they like ran or clocked the game out. I didn't even watch the end of the game, but they were just like, yeah, we're just not going to give it to Breece anymore because he has 1,000 yards, and then he didn't.
Well, he had 36 carries that game. He got enough.
Yeah, it's like give him one more, bro.
Touches.
Guy was getting fucking 10 yards a carry anyways.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, the past few weeks, like Burke's been on for the past probably 3 or 4 episodes, and we've done a lot of talk about MVP, offensive, defensive rookie of the year, comeback player of the year was something we talked about a lot last week, and we kind of, as Jets fans, it's kind of weird that we forgot to acknowledge like Breece Hall's existence.
Yeah, it was like you're watching him play this year, and it's just like this dude tore his ACL last year. You just like don't even think about it because like he just like his burst and his explosiveness is still there. Like he just looks so good, but he just plays for such a terrible fucking team.
Yeah, and
imagine they never brought in Dalvin Cook either. Like,
yeah, just wasting
what
time.
What a waste of time and money with that dude.
I love the fact to see that you see like because he signed with the Ravens. You see the Ravens fans on Twitter. They're talking like, we got such a great elite running back. Like, look what he did the past few years. Like, did you watch like one game with the Jets? He was so bad.
Ravens fans who also have Melvin Gordon on their roster who has done absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So,
these dudes just signing with the Ravens just in hopes to just get that no participation ring and just ride off their careers
when you
into
get
the
the
sunset.
A on the project.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I think we both saw the tweet. It was like DeMar Hamlin's played in 2 games. Joe Flacco, who's like he's second in the I think odds to win it. He's played 5, albeit he's been incredible.
When we were looking at odds last week, it was like the odds were Breece Hall wasn't even on that list. It was like Stafford, Baker Mayfield. It was just like completely brushing over the fact that Breece Hall coming off a torn ACL has like 1,500 scrimmage yards.
Yeah, he ended with like 1,500 scrimmage yards. I think he had 8 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And this is with no Aaron Rodgers. He goes out after the 4th snap of the season.
Right.
And then on top of that, we have one of the worst offensive lines in the entire
Chills
league.
Wilson.
Yeah,
He's got
you got Chills Wilson and the worst offensive line. There's a tweet going around. It was like, yeah, the Jets should definitely draft another quarterback in the draft, and it's like Zach Wilson running from like 5 defenders.
It was his first sack against Miami. Yeah, it's just all of the offensive linemen just staring at the entire defensive line, just hunting down Zach Wilson. It's just like, oh man, yeah, another quarterback or Brock Bowers. I'm like, what are you guys fucking talking about? Like Aaron Rodgers got hurt on the 4th play because he got immediately pressured.
Yeah,
and you want to talk about? It was Dwayne Brown.
He's fucking.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Aaron Rodgers, if you're listening, why didn't you throw the ball to Garrett Wilson? It was wide open.
On the
He would have saved our season. Throw the ball. But I'm not upset. Obviously, it's
over.
Just you're sitting there, just being like, oh, like, how do you not just draft Joe Alt if he's there or that guy?
He won't be there though.
He might.
The Penn State guy you're talking about, the other guy?
The Penn State guy, like, even if at that point, just drop back, get some capital. You got to go O-line. Like, there's still, like, mid-round guys. Like, Broderick Jones was a mid-round guy. And he had it very, like, that was the guy we all wanted. And the Steelers traded up, got him, and he had a very good rookie year. And he was a mid-round guy. So you can still trade down and get middle of the round, early 20s offensive line.
Well, even Tittman, the Jets. When do they draft him?
Second round. Yeah, second round.
He's been great outside of injuries, but
100%.
I mean, so we got a nice slate of games this week. A lot of the script writers did their thing with this week.
There was one where
they did their thing. We got, I believe it's Matt Stafford coming home to Detroit for their first home game in 30 years. Playoff game in 30 years.
That was a nice one.
We have, I believe it's Browns Texans.
Browns Texans.
And then the winner of that would be Joe Flacco. If Joe Flacco and the Browns win that, they would play the Ravens.
Wow. And then we got Chiefs, not Bills.
Chiefs Dolphins.
Chiefs Dolphins on Peacock Saturday night.
Yeah.
Bills Steelers.
And we got
so Saturday we have Browns Texans. Then Miami Chiefs, and then Sunday we have Bills Steelers, Packers Cowboys, Rams Lions,
and Eagles Bucks Monday.
Eagles Bucks on Monday. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Bucks
let's talk about, let's talk about your
game.
Eagles for
That's
a second
tough.
because it's been rough.
Is there a chance Brown plays this week?
So I think he will end up playing. He didn't practice today. Smith and Darius Lake are definitely playing Monday.
Yeah,
though.
I just saw that on the TV. They're saying Smith's
good.
like, I'm good to go.
Jalen hasn't thrown a ball since that game on Sunday, so that's something to worry about a little bit. Can't really go into a playoff game with Marcus Mariota, but.
I will say, if they do end up running out Mariota, like I feel like normally you could be somewhat confident, and I may catch some slack for this one, but against a guy like Todd Bowles, who knows how to like kind of like really bring the pressure and kind of like really get after a quarterback, kind of mix things up zone coverage wise and stuff, like that one's going to be a tough one with Mariota.
Mariota's very skittish, and even like he went in the game on Sunday, threw a pick first play.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's like trying to shake off some jitters. Like if he was facing some of these other defenses, like like Detroit had a good defense, but like I feel like they're maybe not as well coached as Aaron Glenn's doing obviously a phenomenal job, but I mean Todd Bowles is just like a veteran, very well known, like really good bringing the pressure, defensive coordinator. I mean the Rams I think he would have been doing okay with, but I mean
but the one thing though, outside of both these teams, I believe the Bucks have the 4th worst passing defense, and I think the Eagles have the 2nd worst passing defense.
Yeah. But Slay coming back is going to be big. It just depends on if Bradbury plays over him or not, because Bradbury's got to get off the field. They got Keely Ringo, who's been great since he started playing. A rookie, I think he was like a 4th round pick. So it's just they got to figure their shit out pretty much. I think the struggles on the offense, I get the criticisms, but as someone who's watched every single minute of every game this year, I think it's a little bit overblown. Like this dude's getting Brian Johnson, their offensive coordinator, is getting a lot of interviews right now, and it is predictable, but it worked. I mean, they're still putting up 30 points a game. I think
it's just like the last couple games, like the offense hasn't been like clicking, like they know they can. It's just like what's going on? There's no creativity. It's predictable.
It's boring almost. Right. It's almost boring to watch.
It's just like, but it's boring. It's an 11-win team, and you're complaining about how we're not dominating these games like they have been the past few years. It's like it also could be teams are just kind of maybe figuring it out a little bit. He may need to just make like a little adjustments here and there, but I think the Eagles' offense is still fine. I think especially if Hurts is not 100%, obviously it's gonna be a big week for Swift.
So that was another thing too. Like everyone was complaining about him not running that much this year. Like they would go games where he just wouldn't. He got like 10 carries.
He still had 1,000 yards though.
Yeah, exactly. Like he still killed it. Yeah. And I honestly think they were saving him for the playoffs. Like he's a guy who has had injury issues in the past,
and he's never been like a premier like every down back in his career yet. So it's like
he had Jamal Williams in Detroit.
Yeah, like you can't just all of a sudden run these guys out for 25 carries plus carries anymore. It's you're seeing it when that happens to guys, like their careers just exponentially shorten, and then you're just not going to be as productive like later in the year.
Yeah, and I think Gainwell's a very solid second running back. Yeah, I mean he played great against the Giants last week.
Even Boston Scott like coming in as a third like rotational guy. Like he's like there's worse running backs to have as like a rotational guy than Boston Scott. And
they got Rashad Penny in the wings too.
That's what I was going to say, because if we go back to the beginnings of this podcast, like first few episodes that summer, I'm a big Rashad Penny guy. Love Rashad Penny.
He can't pass block for shit.
Who cares?
He can run the ball.
He seemed to be like a decent like signing this year, and then I haven't really been following the 4th stringer on the Eagles this year, but
he's been active. He's been active for 2 games, maybe 3. I think.
Was it injuries or they just didn't?
No, he's not the fit. It's just I don't even think it's not the fit. It's just the other guys are better than him at everything. They're more well-rounded.
Hey, Rashad Penny was. You talk about the Seattle Rashad Penny, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
He was a first-round draft.
What a downfall! I mean,
he was amazing, and then he just had the injury. He had the injury problems that he couldn't get over.
He's had like 5 game stretches where he's
had that half of a season with Seattle, or the last 5 games where he was going for like 200 yards a game.
Right, and just couldn't.
And then the next year he got hurt again, and they brought Kenneth Walker.
And
got rid of him.
the rest was history.
And then I thought he was going to have a good year with the Eagles.
He was like their first running back drafted by far in fantasy this year. Like everybody was drafting him first for the Eagles.
Rashad Penny?
Swift. Yeah.
Who?
It was even in the rankings.
Neither of them were like super high.
Swift was low.
Yeah,
I think I drafted Swift, and I think I got him in the middle rounds or something, like a 7th, 8th rounder.
Yeah,
like I mean, I reluctantly did it, even though after last year, knowing I had Miles Sanders, who had a good rushing yards season.
Yeah.
But Jalen Hurts is the most selfish fucking human being.
You say he's always selfish. He just steals those tush pushes.
An absolute snake in the red zone. It's like, bro, it could be. They'll be running like even before like last year when they weren't doing tush push every 1-2 yard play they had. It would be some sort of read option. And you could see this, like, Miles Sanders, like, please give me the ball. And Jalen Hurts is like, absolutely not. I'm going to fucking run through 3 guys to try and get half a yard. And
I'll ask you guys, since you guys both aren't Eagles fans, what do you guys think about the tush push? Do you think it should be banned?
I don't care.
Figure out how to stop it. Like, stop crying.
Thank you.
Stop crying.
I also think
Bart Scott. It was just like Bart Scott went on there. He was like, we stopped it. He was like, we had teams trying to do it against us. Like, why wasn't it a problem when Brady was tush pushing for 20 fucking years in his career?
Yeah.
If it was 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, guess what Tom Brady's doing?
Same thing.
I'm rushing up to the line and fucking sneaking this ball, and I'm getting 3-4 yards.
Yeah, it's also funny to see, like, earlier this season the Giants tried to do it and they failed. On top of that, I think 2 guys got injured.
But it happens almost every team has tried it this year and has either gotten them a yard or they failed.
Right.
And it doesn't work.
I mean, there's no quarterback like Jalen Hurts in the sense that he is fucking so strong.
Yeah.
Like they had the videos of him when he was still in college. He was squatting like 600 fucking pounds.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a 19, 20-year-old kid squatting 600 pounds. So now he's, how old is he? 25, 26, however old he is. He's probably he's definitely significantly stronger. So you're talking about him trying to get 1-2 yards. Jason Kelsey just absolutely obliterating whoever's in front of him. Of course it's going to fucking work.
And then no one talks about Josh Allen doing this.
That's what I was going to bring up.
Thing.
The Bills are starting to unlock it, and he's going like, you could see he's like, they were talking about it. He's going left.
He's trying to veer. Yeah.
And then you saw even at the end of the game last week, like Leonard Fournette like just pushed him up.
Yeah.
Pushed him up, and he just kind of went over the pile.
I mean, he's another one where it's just like, bro, you're 6'5", like. Just lower that shoulder and just and I know you don't want to hear it like, oh, it's the quarterback, but he's 6'5", like 240, 250. Like, bro, just hit somebody.
I think he had 15 rushing touchdowns this year too, and I didn't even realize.
Oh, Josh, I think he had 42 total touchdowns.
Yeah, but I mean, the big thing with him is like, I would still like to see him get some MVP votes, especially just because like we were talking about last week with Lamar, like how he ended the season. I mean, people were counting Buffalo out, like no chance at the playoffs. So like they had to win these 5 games, and they needed some things to happen for them, obviously. But then they came out and they won 5 games
now.
And they're the 2 seed. It's just like,
they beat everyone.
Yeah, they won the division. They came out and they were like out of the playoffs. So it was like, oh, Buffalo's out this year. They're gonna have to come back next year. Fired their head coach. Looking like things were in a little bit of disarray, and then just win the division.
I put a small Super Bowl future bet in on Bills-Eagles Super Bowl probably like 4 weeks ago.
I had Bills-Niners last week. I was saying Bills-Niners. I think
it was like 25 to win like 1,000. So I mean,
just for
Eagles got to turn it around.
For it to be that,
just for it to be that, yeah. Bills-Eagles in the Super Bowl.
You play some family?
Yeah. And then you could do the like Eagles over Bills or Bills over whoever. Like you can do shit like that too.
My camera only does 20 minutes of 1080p, so every 20 minutes I have to get up and change it.
What do you have to do?
Nothing. I just have to press record again. It's really easy. It takes 2 seconds. I don't really need to do this, but whatever. All right, we're back. It helps with like I took it from Zach.
It's with the editing.
It just creates a spike in the audio, so you can kind of see like.
I was saying that's for like your editing purposes. So like when you're editing,
realistically, it takes 2 seconds to really. It's a little annoying. I'm looking into getting like a camera that doesn't have this, but a lot of them do only have like 20-30 minute run times.
I'm assuming you're gonna have to spend like a lot of money to not have these problems.
The camera and the lens is like probably $1,000, maybe 12. I'm not getting it right now.
I'm
saying, like, in the future, I would like to get it.
Man,
Right now,
it was just Christmas.
I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it.
My holiday bonus was
maybe Black Friday next year.
non-existent. Maybe on episode 80 of Getting Technical.
Should we?
Maybe we'll start the Patreon. Guys can go donate.
Yeah. Should we?
Instead of me donating to FanDuel every week, maybe I'll donate to Getting Technical.
Oh my gosh, bro, it's bad. Should we do some picks?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's do the playoff picks. All right.
Matches, right?
Yeah. Let's do it. All right. So, wild card weekend. Let's get some picks going. So the first game we got on Saturday, we got Browns Texans. I am gonna go with the Browns.
I mean, I would love to see Flacco win it, but at home, Houston, I think they got a really solid defensive line. Will Anderson's playing well. They have that other guy, Grenard, who's one of the top guys in sacks. I think they get some pressure. No, I'm lying. It's going to be Joe Flacco, baby. Joe Flacco. I think the offense is hot. I think the team is hot. I think they're rallying around him. I'm going Browns 28 to the Texans 17.
Okay.
I think that this is the Joe Flacco fraud week. I think this is the week he goes back to being the old Joe Flacco. CJ Stroud carrying the boys to the next round. I'm riding with the Texans until they lose.
Man,
Okay,
I don't know.
right.
Playoff Flacco, though.
CJ
Flacco.
Stroud is one of the most impressive rookie quarterbacks I have seen in a long time. Time.
He's nice.
For a guy that's just like, they were, obviously, what were they, second overall pick or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then it was just like,
pick.
they were like, all right, this team's still going to need like a couple years to like rebuild and build around this guy. And it's just obviously the emergences of guys like Nico Collins and stuff. And,
they're missing
Getting
Tank Dell
Dalton
right
Schultz,
now, too.
Tank Dell, Devin Singletary's been really nice for them.
But I mean, it's just he just heightens that offense. But I mean, I'm just you got to ride with the story of Flacco.
Dude, the Browns D when they were like 8-3 and or something like that. I saw their record when I didn't like pay attention to them.
They were still
what?
They were still like 6-1 with like Deshaun Watson, and he's fucking terrible.
Yeah,
they were just winning. They were still putting up 30 points, and like Deshaun Watson would have like 120 yards and like 2 touchdowns.
They were
Like
playing PJ Walker.
yeah, like
they also everyone's just
Thompson,
forgetting
Robert.
about Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb got
Died.
killed in the second game of the year.
Bro, Jerome Ford. I picked him up when Nick Chubb went down. He had, I don't know if he got to 1,000 yards, because I think there were a lot of games where they were just like, fuck it, we're just gonna be slinging it out here for no reason. But he was pretty close. He had he did a really good job like picking up the slack for Chubb. It'd be nice to see him maybe continue on next year and maybe get like a nice contract or something, and then the year's coming. But he was solid.
Yeah, the Browns do everything well outside of, for the most part, outside of Flacco throwing the ball this year. Their defense is like elite. They force a lot of turnovers. Run game's always nice.
If Flacco, it's just the turnovers. If Flacco doesn't turn the ball over, they're gonna win. It's just he has every week. He's just like he has one or two throws where you're just like, dude, like you've been playing so well, and then you just like closed your eyes for a couple plays, and you're like, fuck it, I'm just gonna sling it to Amari Cooper somewhere down there. Like, what are you doing? Like be that poised veteran that everybody wants you to be.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Texans 24, Browns 20.
Ooh.
Okay.
Browns D gets a touchdown too.
Hey yo.
Next game is Dolphins Chiefs. This one's in Kansas City,
That's
I believe the
difference
high
maker.
that day is 9 degrees, and it's
Ooh.
most likely going to be negative.
the wind.
They said today it was negative
that-
30 with the wind chill.
Was that the? I also saw it was big under game. Anytime like the wind is like over 13 miles an hour, like the under is like significant. So for all you FanDuel people out there, bet the under.
Wow, no love to DraftKings.
No, I don't do
DraftKings
DraftKings. I only donate my money strictly to FanDuel.
DraftKings has it's just not anywhere near the same level of FanDuel has so many like props and things you could do, like especially
FanDuel
with
also
basketball.
looks a lot cleaner.
It does. It looks so much
there's
better.
a lot going on the DraftKings
Too much.
page. I'm just like, I don't even understand how half of this works. I was doing DraftKings, like the fantasy DraftKings earlier. why is there 2 separate apps for this? I was like, just make it all.
They
one
do it
thing.
with FanDuel too. It's the daily fantasy. I got confused
really?
with it
I didn't
too.
even I was sitting there for 10 minutes being like, how do I get to regular betting?
Talk
on here?
about donating, bro. I tried doing that for basketball a year or 2 ago, and I was like, you get some of the pools you win you win your money back. You're like, I'm so close. If I have to just pick this right team, I know what I'm doing. I could totally win the $20,000 pot, and then it's all of a sudden it's I'm down 60, 80, 100, 120. I can't do this anymore.
Those people are bots. The people at the top that are winning tens of thousands of dollars at those DraftKings lot, they're bots. They're not real people. Those are fake accounts made by DraftKings and FanDuel. They have to be.
A Twitter account that people are always tweeting with, thanks so much to this thing that helped me win, and it's it seems bottish. So honestly,
it's absolutely a bot. There's just no way. These people are all of a sudden they'll have Tampa Bay's third. They'll have Kate Otten, their number one tight end. It's the weekend. And I have the hottest take of all time. Conor McGregor is the most overrated fighter.
He's not.
I think he is, because I think he was in a division that was pretty spanking new. It's the same
that's true.
It's the same thing with Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey's the most overrated fighter. She was the first ever woman fighter to really come through the ranks.
Yeah,
and then it was all these other women were all right, now it's starting to get popular and there's some money to be made.
Yeah,
let's go into this. And then she started getting her ass beat.
Yeah,
by all of these.
Oh
women.
yeah,
she just started getting destroyed. I think it's the same thing with Conor McGregor. It was
they were early to it?
He was in a division that wasn't so flooded with talent, and I think he just came up at the right time and just dominated. And then I think if he was in his prime right now at that same division, I think he gets smoked.
I think if he wins on his fight back this summer,
who's he even fighting?
He's fighting Michael Chandler. He's really good.
Yeah. When he
he's a top 5 guy.
And he wants to fight him at 185, right?
Yeah, but I don't think it's actually going to be at 185. So it'll probably be at 170.
Even if he fights him at 170, he's too small to be a 170 guy. Nate, he was unloading into Nate Diaz, and Nate Diaz was just looking at him, was like, "Is that all you got?" It was he's like, "I get hit harder if I punch myself."
They're gonna fight again too, which I can't wait.
They have to.
McGregor.
They've always, both of them have always said we will fight for a third time. Nate doesn't even have a contract right now, and he's like, I'll be back to fight.
He lost both fights. I don't give a fuck. Nate
Diaz won both.
That was to set up a third fight. Nate Diaz beat him both times.
Yeah,
it's he's not strong enough to fight at 170.
Well, that's the same thing with O'Malley. When it goes to a decision, they can influence it more to get the guy who they want to push to win. Especially in a close fight, Sean O'Malley fought Peter Yan, and that was an insanely close fight. People were scoring at 50-50, both guys, but they're gonna give it to Sean because they want him. They want to push him. He's more popular.
Right.
They want him to get the belt, and he knocks out Aljo and wins the belt. So it works out. But.
Yep. Well, we're back to tonight's scheduled programming. So we just talked Dolphins Chiefs. I believe it was all in there. I heard us talking about Kelsey, which seemed like it was 5 minutes before that. Not even probably 2 3 minutes before.
I think we all agree that Chiefs are going to take that game. I think we're all in agreement.
Then we got this. In my opinion, this is the snooze fest of the week. We got Steelers Bills. I think it's not close, and I think the Bills just destroy them.
I think the only way it could be close is if TJ Watt just has an absolute unbelievable game.
He's not playing though. He's out.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
I take all that back. I completely blanked.
I forgot he got hurt.
He blew his fucking knee out, right? Yeah.
They did say
he could be back if they win.
Yeah,
JJ Watt said that he could be back in a few weeks.
I thought he had a big an MCL sprain and he really hurt himself.
Yeah.
He's a Watt, man.
Yeah, he'll be coming
back. They inject you with whatever,
you'll be back. He'll be back week 1 of 2024. Get healthy for golf, TJ, because your team will be golfing by next week.
So I'm one of those few people who absolutely love this Steelers team. Shout out to Magic on Twitter. He's one of my UFC gambling guys, but he's a big football fan. He's from Spain, so he barely knows anything, but he loves Kenny and the boys. Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, too bad it's Mason Rudolph and the boys.
I know. So, and I have
Pickett is just
Kenny
so bad.
Pickett.
My buddy Mauricio. You guys know Mauricio, right?
Which one?
Aguilar. He's
I see him at the gym all the time.
Yeah. Actually. So
another name drop. Drop Chris Allison first.
So he's a huge Steelers fan, and we've just been going back and forth all year talking about him. I always support the Steelers. If I see anything over +6.5, I'm taking the Steelers. So.
Wow.
Plus 10 against the Bills.
Oh, plus 10's a little ridiculous.
That's a little ridiculous in a playoff game. Yeah,
that's a little ridiculous.
They're missing TJ, I get it, but hopefully Kenny comes in. Mason gets benched because he sucks. Bring Kenny and the boys back.
Yeah, you can't bring Kenny Pickett.
Take him to the swamp. Plus 10, I'll take it any day. But the Bills will win.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't touch that game gambling wise. But I mean, I think Buffalo is super hot, and there's just no chance that Pittsburgh beats them. The second I throw a bet on Buffalo, you can bet the house, put your mortgage on it, that Pittsburgh's going to come out with a W. I mean, so I'm going to stay away from that because I think Buffalo is my my favorite out of the AFC. So I'm going to go Buffalo. Buffalo 31-14.
All right.
Decisive win for Josh Allen and the boys.
I'm going to go sorry, Ross. I'm going to go 31-24.
Okay. I mean, you guys got
+7.
You got the Steelers, defense not really
Just
doing
go.
much.
I'm gonna take the +6, and then your prediction
No, I
is
said plus 10. I said 6.5 or less. I'm taking them.
Yeah. Next up, honestly, in my opinion, one of the more intriguing is we got the Packers going into Dallas. Mike McCarthy's old team coming into
Jordan Love, baby.
Cowboys Stadium, but I don't know. For me, it's like the Cowboys.
Jordan Love.
Say whatever you want about the Cowboys in the playoffs. At home this year, they
win.
They win. They win at home. If this game was in Lambeau, I would say Packers, but I'm rocking with the Cowboys. I think it could be a close game, but I just don't see how at home against the Packers defense. I don't see how the Cowboys don't score 30 points. And I don't think the Packers are going to score 30 points.
Not too bold of a prediction here because I've seen a lot of people saying this, but unbiasedly, I think the Cowboys will win, but if the Cowboys do lose because they are known to choke in the playoffs, Dak sucks. He has one playoff win in his career. Most overrated quarterback in the league.
Not after this year.
McCarthy gets fired. Belichick is a Cowboy by Tuesday.
God, stop it! If that is the case, I just have even more reason to hate Bill Belichick. Fuck the Cowboys. We're going Packers 24, Cowboys 17. Fuck the Cowboys. Even though I like Dak Prescott, I don't understand the hate, but fuck the Cowboys.
I agree. I like Dak. I think Dak's good. I mean, if you look at that offense this year, right? Obviously, they've always had a good offensive line. This year, it's not as good as it has been in the past. Tony Pollard, he's a nice running back, but he hasn't really had a great year.
He's not the star that they're the top 5 guy that they really want him to be.
And then if you look at it, it's like, okay, he's got CD, who's a top 3 receiver in the league, but
not 2 or 3 either right now.
Exactly. He's making his case for the best receiver in the NFL.
Yeah.
But it's like outside of that, Brandon Cooks, he's a nice 2. But then
and then it's
Jake Ferguson,
it's Michael Gallup.
Yeah,
and it's just like who after that. It's but having Ferguson and who's the other guy they have? He's a solid
Shoemaker or something
like that. But I mean, he's a solid blocking tight end. Really kind of helps on some of their packages. But I mean, yeah, he really just has CeeDee Lamb to throw to, and it shows just because he gets 76 targets per game. But I mean, it's like you're saying, it's like who else is he gonna throw to? Brandon Cooks, all right, he's okay. Michael Gallup just never really got off the ground as that guy. I don't know. I like the Packers. I think they're hot. I think they're playing well. Jordan Love's playing well. I think they're getting healthy on defense, and I think they come out and shock the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a very close game. I would say within 3 points of each other. Go 24-21 Cowboys, but also wouldn't be shocked if that was the same score all the way around.
Okay. Next game. We got Matt Stafford coming into Detroit. Their first home playoff game in 30 years. I don't think it's going to end well. I think Matt Stafford and the Rams win. I think ever since they got Kyron back and Cooper's looking good now, I think at full strength, the Rams I just think are a better team. They've got more experience as well.
I think the Detroit Lions are just too much up and down, inconsistent. I think they need a little bit more playoff experience for a lot of the guys. Obviously Jared Goff has some, but I mean, the rest of the team's like pretty young. I think they'll be back again next year in the playoffs. You know, they just need to kind of keep building and kind of get over that hump a little bit more.
I'm going to make my own segment on the show right now. This is Sean's underdog lock of the week, and that is the Los Angeles Rams. They're going to absolutely go into Detroit.
Wow,
Stafford going to ruin the homecoming for the home playoff game. First time in, what'd you say, 30 years?
Yep.
Stafford goes in there, shows them that they messed up, should have never traded him. He wins that game. It ain't going to be close. 31-17 Rams.
I think the game ends being a little closer just because I think they're going to start slinging it at the end with some Jared Goff, and they're going to catch up a little bit. And so I'm going to say it's going to be, 28-23. And I think the game just gets a little closer, but I think for the majority of the game, it's going to be like, all right, the Rams have been in control this whole time. But like the score is going to be close, but I think it's going to be like very clear and obvious that the Rams are just the clear-cut better team, and just they're going to come out. Like you said, Kyron Williams, Puka. I mean, that offense is just hot.
Yeah. The craziest thing is, like, Cooper Kupp didn't even have a good year this year. Like, he did like the minimal for Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I mean, the focus was Puka, and then these later weeks now have been the focus has been a strong, like a heavy run game, strong run game. It's just really, really made them. It's made Matt Stafford a lot better.
When the Eagles did have the 2 seed, I repeatedly said I was very nervous to have to play the Rams in the first round. Yeah. And I'm very glad that most likely won't have to see them.
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite of what we're saying. We're saying in Dallas, like, they've got the nice offensive line. Pollard's a nice running back. CD's an elite receiver. You look at the Rams, and you got Matt Stafford, who's been there, obviously. Kyron Williams is looking like a top 5 running back in the league right now.
Right.
And then you got this duo of Puka and Cooper Kupp, and it's like these two just look so elite.
Right.
Puka has proven he's elite, and we've seen what Cooper Kupp can do in this system with Matt Stafford in the playoffs. And
they
it's
got
like
Higbee at tight end, right? No slouch of a tight end.
Oh, even they might. Tutu Atwell might be the best 3 in the league too.
Tutu Atwell, just like a big deep threat speed guy. Like he could always hurt you for a nice deep ball catch. And Puka, if they could keep him consistent with his 76 targets also, like CeeDee Lamb gets, I mean, that offense is going to roll through with Matthew Stafford, I think. And
then you got to worry about Aaron Donald on the other end.
and then you got to sit there and worry about one of the best interior defensive linemen of all time.
Okay, next last game, we got the Eagles and the Bucks. I believe this line is only like -2.5 for the Eagles.
I think it was one. I want to say 1.5 a couple days ago. Personally, for me, I think that this is Sirianni's biggest test. Where if they lose this game, I think his job is really in danger. And at this point in the year, I don't really mind that, but I think they go in there and win this game. AJ Brown or not, I trust Jalen. I have to trust my quarterback. I trust my quarterback more than my coach ever, or all the time, I should say. But Eagles win this one, a very close, like way too close.
The score app has game. The score app has it right now as a 3-point spread for the Eagles.
So it's moving a little bit. Yeah, it's been moving.
It has been.
I think with the emergence of Devonta and obviously, Hurts is probably going to play. I think that, kind of boosts it a little bit. But
the Bucs are a dangerous team, though, and at home especially, you just never know. I love Baker. I love that. I love watching the Bucs play, but I got to go with my guys.
Yeah, they're definitely a good team, especially in the passing game with Godwin and who's been hot recently, and then you got Mike Evans, obviously one of the fucking goats. What is it? He's got like. How many 1,000-yard seasons does he have?
I think it's 10.
Is it 10?
It's like 10 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons.
Insane. Like
welcome to the New York Jets next year, by the way.
He's just so good. But even Rachaad White has been turning on. So I just have trouble seeing the Bucs beat the Eagles. So I think it's another close game as well. I'm gonna take the Eagles. I think that offensive line with Jalen Hurts running the ball, DeAndre Swift. I think they get it done. I think the defense makes some crucial stops, and I think they win this one.
I think it has the potential to be a close game, but I think this also has one of those like big blowout alerts. Just Baker Mayfield, he's a gritty guy, but if he puts too much pressure on himself to kind of go out there and just really take control of the game instead of just letting the guys around him really help him out and do their thing for him. I think if he just turns the ball over, the Eagles are going to just start running away with this game. So I mean, obviously it's cliche to say that the QB of the other team, of the underdog team, is the X factor. I mean, like you said, he has so much talent around him where it's just like his life can be made so easy. It's just if he's going to let it be easy for him. But I'm still going to take the Eagles. I'm going to take them 28-20. It's another one of those games where I think the score kind of gets a little closer towards the end, but I think it's just like all the way decided. The Eagles are just the better team and just absolutely, take care of business.
There's a real possibility that all 3 road teams win this week, and like I said, I'm scared to play the Rams. But
I feel like wild card week. That's not like super uncommon. It's like because you have like the Buccaneers are getting a home game. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like you get things like that all the time. What were we saying? Like the Bills. The Bills have a. No, the Bills are home. The Bills are home. Sorry, they were potentially having a road game. Sorry, but even like the Dolphins, like we were saying, is how they could be. The Chiefs should take care of business, but I mean, if they come out hot out the gate, like they could easily take their game.
I think it's Tyreek Hill's first time back in Kansas City.
Maybe.
I think so. I think
sure.
Did they play in Kansas City this year? I know they played each other. I don't know where it was.
I don't think they did. I could be wrong.
I mean, I think the Packers have a good chance to upset. Who's the other? Oh, the Browns.
Yeah.
The Browns, obviously, I think are the not obviously, but I think the Browns are the favorite. Are they the favorite or?
Yeah.
Or is Houston favored just because they're home?
No, the Browns are the favorite.
So,
I think they're like 1.5.
So yeah,
favorites.
I mean, definitely a good week to be an away team, I guess. It's just good week.
The playoffs, man.
Good week for some underdog betting.
Yeah. Well, it's almost that. Speaking of the underdog, we were talking about this the other day. It's almost time for the best sporting event in the world,
The Puppy Bowl,
March Madness.
Oh.
March Madness.
March Madness.
There's nothing better than March Madness.
You got a month and a half until March Madness.
It's
honestly,
a month and a half goes
it's
by
like almost
this.
2 months, bro. I ain't watching no March Madness,
Bro.
I watch.
You don't watch March Madness?
I watch spring training baseball over
See,
March Madness.
That's just
Bro,
that's sad.
college basketball until it's like the Final Four just doesn't interest
the
me.
Best part
The
is
best
the
round
first
is the
weekend.
first round.
It just like doesn't
You
motivate
see the guys
me.
every year. They make like the videos. They're like,
Yeah,
I'm betting $100 on every underdog,
sick,
and they
man.
come out on top.
Wow, like I'm gonna bet on Manhattan. Wow, ooh, wow, so much fun.
Yo,
No one fucking cares
Please.
about the Manhattan College Jaspers playing nationally televised.
You
the
don't
old,
like the
the
St.
old,
Peter's
the Albany
upsetting
Great
Purdue?
Danes playing fucking nationally televised basketball. No one fucking cares. All right, unless you're like the Wichita State Shockers coming out there with a cool name, no one fucking cares.
Wichita State is one of the greatest
Love
college
Wichita
basketball programs.
State. Nick Legends, Clay Anthony Early, and Ron Baker.
My guy Ron
Yeah.
Baker.
Yeah, shout out to Ron Baker. I think he just got engaged or married.
Shout out,
Ron
Ron.
Baker.
Legend.
Wow, that's a name drop right there.
Former New York Knick.
Yeah.
White chocolate, little great white hope there.
And of course, like the Knicks take from that Shockers team. There's Fred VanVleet, there's Ron Baker, and Clay Anthony Early. And the one guy that the Knicks don't take is the one who was like an all-star, basically.
In the WNBA, and you're just not taking the opportunity to go capture viewers. It's just utter lack of care by the front office of the MLB to just go out there and just be like, look, we need to start making guys super popular on social media. We need to start advertising baseball, getting it like into the youth, and just absolutely chopping away at the fact that they should be skyrocketing themselves into the second most popular sport, and they just don't.
Weren't they blocking people from like reposting videos
Yeah, they
from
were.
games?
They were, yeah. They did.
And it's just like, but
Meanwhile, the NBA is like, everybody share our shit.
Yeah, the NBA's capitalized on it, but another thing too is like even the NFL, like obviously as people who like follow football, like the Taylor Swift shit was really annoying.
Very.
But it was smart as fuck to capitalize on it. Like they're like, fuck it, we know it's gonna piss people off. They'll get over it. They love our product. They're gonna fucking watch anyway.
Oh, they got millions of new
But
fans through that shit.
bro, Taylor Swift, they leaned into that shit. She was the fucking bio of their fucking like Twitter page and Instagram page.
But it's
like,
also the fact
smart.
where it's just like you have teams that are like the Oakland Athletics or the Detroit Tigers that are just like
not trying to even
unless
do anything.
they're not even trying. It's just very obvious that they're just not trying. It's just like you have like a solid like 7-8 teams that just consistently go out there and just be like, we're not gonna put a good product out there. If it just so happens to play well for a year or two, great.
Yeah.
But I don't give a shit if it does.
Yeah, there's about like 12 teams that are like actively like spending money, maybe give or take.
In the NFL, there's 32 teams that every year out there spending money, trying to do their best to become. Because I mean, I'm sure it's because the revenue that comes from winning is just exponentially greater than any other sport. It's just like, but how do you just sit there as like an owner of a team like the A's or the Tigers and just be like, I'm okay with sucking for 10 years?
Well, the thing is, like, this is another thing with baseball. Is like they have this no salary cap, right? And they build like the luxury tax and stuff. And as Mets and Yankees fans, like teams that actually spend,
right?
We shouldn't be thinking about this. But if baseball really wants to grow, like the NBA has like a minimum. You have to spend a certain amount of money. I
totally agree. Like you should like. Teams like Cleveland, Detroit, Oakland, there's out there. Like Oakland spent less money in the past 10 years than what it would take for Ohtani's 1 year contract. Like if they didn't defer that money, you'd be getting $70 million a year. The Oakland Athletics in the last 10 years haven't spent $70 million.
It's so
in
crazy.
10 fucking years.
Doesn't make sense.
They still have Moneyball.
Yeah, Moneyball. A fucking joke of a movie. First off, stop listening to Moneyball. It doesn't fucking work. The only reason they were good is because they had Miguel Tejada, the MVP, who had 140 RBIs, and Barry Zito, the Cy Young. Stop it. That team was good. It wasn't Scott fucking Hatteberg. Enough with this nonsense in that movie. It doesn't work.
Didn't mean to strike a nerve there, Tom.
It's just I hate that.
Somehow Moneyball always comes up. I don't know why.
Like, dude, like that concept, it works and gets you to the playoffs, and that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Look at the Rays. Like they moneyball the shit out of it, but they don't fucking win the World Series. Like the teams who go out there and spend the money win the World Series.
Yeah, every single time.
Every single time.
Even this year, it's like you saw the Diamondbacks had a nice run. They spent some money.
But like the Diamondbacks still at the break went out and got some guys to bring them over the hump. Like I said, like it works to get you to the playoffs. Like the Diamondbacks are a young and up and coming team. I think if you redid the playoffs again and they had to play again, do the Diamondbacks make it to the playoffs again or to the World Series again? No, I don't think they had any business beating the Phillies, who are just by far way more talented team. I think the Diamondbacks were just hot. It's just like the good teams, the consistently good teams that are in the World Series, winning the World Series, are spending money. Even the Astros were spending money on veteran players and guys in the bullpen and the starting rotation.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Rangers. They won, and it's like they're coming off like these crazy Marcus Semien,
spending an ass load of money.
Jacob DeGrom, even though he didn't play, they traded their best prospect basically for Max Scherzer.
Yeah, you spent money on Nathan Eovaldi, Jordan Montgomery. You went out and got guys. Like they had the young guys and Josh Jung and Jonah Heim, but like they still went out. Like you said, Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, trading for a guy like Scherzer who was owed $40 million. Getting Montgomery, getting Nathan Eovaldi, getting Jacob DeGrom, even though he didn't play. But like they went out there and they spent the money, and then they won the World Series. Crazy fucking idea there, guys.
You really need the combination because you've seen with the Mets. Like the Mets have spent, although it's been like on these old pitchers, things like that. They've missed out on a few guys that they tried to get. But it's like Lindor's been great, even though people for some reason hate on the guy. It doesn't make any sense.
Because Met fans are fucking dumb.
Pete Alonso's been great, and Brandon Nimmo's been good. And
Pete Alonso, another one. Oh, get rid of Pete Alonso. Are you fucking stupid? Are you dumb?
Sorry.
Why would you ever get rid of Pete Alonso? Guy is just so good. So good.
Like people feel like the reason why the Mets like had a bad year is because their prospects that were supposed to do well. Beatty was not good in his first year. Alvarez hit for power, but he had his hot and cold moments. Right. Then Jeff McNeil had a kind of a down year. Yeah. And the pitching just fell. You lose Edwin Diaz celebrating in the World Baseball Classic.
That was a tough one. But
Scherzer and Verlander were just banged up because they're fucking 40 years old.
They're fucking 40 years old. And it's just like you signed Kodai Senga, who needed to be on a 6-day rotation. You know, and he was great though. Jose Quintana, who's solid, but he's also an injury-prone guy. And then your guys that were supposed to come in and fill in the void, like the Jordan
Beatty?
No, like David Peterson. I'm saying like the guys that
him and Tyler McGill. Like those guys.
Tyler McGill, who like
Carlos Carrasco was terrible this year.
Listen, Carlos Carrasco's got to go. I mean, Tyler McGill and David Peterson,
and they all sucked.
Who shined for like a little bit of time. They're like, all right, maybe these guys can be like fill-in pieces, and they were terrible. Jeff McNeil having a significantly going from batting title champ to like 260. That's a huge blow. Brett Beatty is just young, just needs time. Lindor, Alonso, great. Alvarez just needs time. Nimmo is great.
And you had Marte miss some time, and he had a down year too. And the year before, he was one of their best players.
Marte, just didn't have it this year. And then Tommy Pham, who you traded at the deadline, but it's
another good move by like the Diamondbacks. Yeah, but like
you got what you get out of Tommy Pham, and then.
I'm pretty sure that was just like they realized they weren't going anywhere, and they were just let's try and get anything we can.
Just unload
like this. Even with those they got rid of Scherzer and Verlander, but they're still eating some of their money.
Right.
But they ate more money to get better prospects.
Right.
So like 3 of the Mets like top 5 prospects they got at the deadline.
I mean, I still don't think they should have got rid of Verlander. The Verlander thing didn't make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, getting rid of him.
They got the prospects they got back. They're good. They're top of their farm. I understand.
I mean, but when you have a guy like Cohen that comes out and is just like, I'm going to spend and try and compete every year, and then you just go ahead and you just immediately offload these guys, or it was just like, okay, so you're not going to compete every year?
Well, he learned the hard way that it really has to be a mix. Right. You have to have a good farm, have some good young players on these dirt cheap contracts, and then you have to spend the money. Like you have to do both. Especially spend though, because the spending is going to get you those top guys who've been there, who've had the experience.
The formula that the Phillies and the Astros and stuff that they're following, you have the young core, and then you surround them with the veterans. That's the winning formula. You have Kyle Tucker, Jordan Alvarez, Alex Bregman. I mean, Bregman and Altuve are getting older, but like that was a young core that they had.
And then, who's their shortstop? What's his name again?
He won like Jeremy Pena.
He won the World Series MVP, right?
Yeah, he was World Series MVP. But then you have, the Michael Brantleys, the Martin Maldonados, the Justin Verlanders. Yeah. You bring in the veterans to really solidify, and they help the young guys. They learn from the young guys learn from the older guys. That's every sport ever. You have. It's the reason why Jordan Love is now in the Aaron Rodgers experiment. Jordan Love is doing what he's doing because he sat behind one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time and was able to absorb everything, absorb his offseason, absorb his pregame, his postgame, everything that he does during the game, when he's not on the field. Like you absorb everything of the guys that you're surrounded by. So when you're teams like the Jets and you're surrounded by bad talent and, you have a guy like Zach Wilson who you're trying to develop, and he can't develop because he's never surrounded by anybody that's talented. It's just just recipes for disaster.
This could be like I've always kind of felt this way, but I think I'm not saying keep Zach Wilson as your backup, but I think the Jets should keep Zach Wilson on the roster.
Stop talking.
I think he needs to
stop.
Bro, if
he sat behind Rodgers this year and next year, I think it'd be a lot different story.
He never
than
had
him
to play
getting
this
thrown
year,
into the
right?
fire.
They went Rodgers, then Rodgers gave him another year next year, so he had 2 years under Rodgers. And they solidified their line. You don't think he could be a decent quarterback?
What are you looking for? You're looking for a middle of the pack quarterback?
You can't always have an elite one.
Why not?
The Jets haven't had one in fucking 60 years.
They could have just re-signed Flacco.
I mean, bro, it's
give
like,
Flacco. That's another thing. It's like give these fucking quarterbacks an offensive line. And maybe they could do something. Because Joe Flacco is running for his goddamn life, and he's not a mobile quarterback at 40 years old.
I mean, you can make the argument, it was like when Zach Wilson had protection, like the Chiefs game,
he played
the
well.
Texans game, he played well. And
he beat the Eagles.
And honestly, stop that. The defense beat the Eagles. It's like saying he beat the Bills.
Yeah, you guys, they had like 4 turnovers?
Yeah, he threw fucking...
That was a bad one.
Jalen Hurts couldn't throw the ball to anybody
and
in
the right
field goal and
miss? I think Elliott missed a field goal, and that's how the Jets got the ball back.
Maybe.
I think so.
I mean, look, like Zach just wasn't developed right. It's time to move on. Get him out of New York for the sake of his career. Get him out of New York.
Yeah. You guys want to talk about Belichick and Saban last?
Yeah.
5-10 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know they kept saying it that like Belichick was going to retire. It was like he signed a contract extension in the middle of the year through next year. So that's why like in the back of my mind it was just like, all right, like could they potentially give him? It was just like, but like why would you give him the extension?
He's not retiring though. He's chasing that record.
Right, but it's just like
you realized. Well, it's actually interesting. Around that time when they started to really struggle, I was listening to Bill Simmons, and he was talking about like he was like, if you had to think like of these coaches, who's going to go first? He didn't think that Belichick was going to make it through the season, and then all of a sudden Belichick gets extended, and then they lose, and within like what a few days he's out. It doesn't make sense.
He got extended through next year, so it was like, all right, he's they're understanding that they fucked up with Mac Jones, the experiment is over with him, so he's getting a new lease on life, for next year. And then it was just like, all right, he's like, I'm just gonna step away. I was like, oh, like I know they kept saying it, but like as a Jet fan, just like watching this guy just absolutely own the Jets for the last 20 years, it was just like it's kind of just like it threw me back because I was just like, holy crap! Like in the past 5 years, like we've not only no longer have to deal with Brady, but now we don't have to deal with Belichick.
Yeah.
And how sweet it is as Jets fans to be Belichick's last game of his Patriots career and give him the L.
And to tie the record for the most losses of all time as a head coach. I was like, I thought that was a cool one. I was like,
wait, he's got the most losses?
He's tied. I mean,
makes sense when you've coached for as long as he has.
When you coach for as long, yeah, like you're bound. It's like Brett Favre. Like, yeah, he's got the most interceptions of all time. The guy also played for 45 fucking years. It's like.
It is nice to send him out of the AFC.
Right, yeah, like that was
nice
such
little L. Jets L. In the most meaningless game. He wanted to lose. They wanted to lose.
That's the most Jets thing ever. The most meaningless game possible. You somehow beat Bill Belichick in his potentially final career game. It's just like, oh, whatever.
And they I think he needs 15 more wins to get the record. But the favorite for his next team is the Falcons.
See, I think the Chargers would make more sense for him.
I think the Chargers are going to try to get Harbaugh, but
from Michigan, yeah.
To get Harbaugh, why would you leave Michigan? It's the same thing with Saban. Jim Harbaugh could murder somebody in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and they'd be like, "Nah, it wasn't him."
The thing though for college is you have to worry about recruiting and doing all these visits and stuff. It's a lot. It's still in the NFL, it's year-round job, obviously, but it's still. I feel from the outside looking in, I feel like it's a little bit less work-wise. You're still working 20-hour days.
But you got to think every 2 years he gets a new excuse of why they can maybe have a little bit of a down year where it's just this kid didn't pan out, it didn't happen, Ohio State it was just their year. But that's another you'll never have to worry about life if you just continue to beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
That's really all he has to do is just continue to succeed against Ohio State. And they'll be like, I don't know, we went 1-10 this year. Yeah, we beat Ohio State. Who cares? It's I feel like the life of a college coach, the way to get love is so much easier to just beat that one rival every year. And Jim Harbaugh's been doing that. He's been very successful against Ohio State. So it's once again, it was the guy could be if he ran for governor right now, he'd do very well. It's the same thing. If Nick Saban, somebody made a joke oh, Nick Saban's retiring to run for president, I bet you he wins the fucking state of Alabama if he runs for president. It's just I don't understand leaving these programs to go to the NFL when you just to me it seems like life is made and they're starting to pay these college coaches.
Yeah.
These college coaches are getting ridiculous contracts, so it's just why go?
And they were talking about the buyouts too for the Alabama job, and they got to pay 10 to 15 million to get other coaches from other schools.
Yeah, but it's
also
contract. It's just so strange that you see arguably the best coach in NFL history, arguably the best coach in college football history.
I get the Saban thing.
Leaving there within a week, them both stepping down or being fired,
24 hours.
Retiring, whatever you want to call what they're doing. It's just
Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll, who fucking weird.
Who started off in the NFL, did pretty well, started to fall off, went to college, created an absolute dynasty at USC, and then came to the NFL. And won a World Series, a Super Bowl with the Seahawks, and the Cowboys still have not won a playoff game in that entire duration.
But even then, I think Pete Carroll was the biggest shock because it didn't even sound like he wanted to. In his press conference, it didn't even sound like he wanted to stop coaching. But I get he's 72 years old. I didn't even realize.
I think, but like he had some health problems like a couple years ago. No?
I remember that. Yeah,
like he had some health problems. So like, but like he's stepping down as a coach, but I think he's staying with it. He's staying with the Seattle organization.
Saban's getting an office at the stadium in Bryant-Denny. He's going to actually like work with Alabama still.
Oh, he's not looking for a new job. He's just retired.
He's just retired.
I'm surprised they didn't give him his own campus. Yeah. Like this is Alabama West. This is Nick Saban's. This is Nick Saban campus.
But Saban's used to the old game, not worried about all these. What's the center? The big joke on Twitter right now is that the center went in the transfer portal and he was like, "Fuck this, I'm done. I can't be dealing with this." But then Belichick, everyone kind of knew it was. Everyone was kind of leaning that way.
It's just
and
like
being done.
The Belichick thing. Just I don't know. Like I said, it's just like watching him over the last 20 years. Just be an absolute mastermind, just dominating. You know, I don't care. Like the age-old argument: was it Brady? Was it Belichick? It was both. You know, like you needed both to succeed. Granted, you know, Brady went out and did it on his own, even though they fucking built a super team for him that year. It's just gonna be so weird to just not, you know, be at a Jet game, you know, and be at a Jets Patriots game and not just see that sleeveless hoodie fucking guy looking like this, you know, the fucking evil empire, Darth Sidious over there, just absolutely dominating the Jets every year.
Fucked up.
It's crazy.
Do you guys want to talk about anything else? Or are we good? I can reset it for 20 minutes. It's up to you guys.
I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah.
Cool. I think we got like 1 or 2 more minutes. But yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where Belichick ends up. I think the Chargers would make sense. But go with Justin Herbert. You got Keenan Allen there.
He's
got good defensive players.
He's got to go somewhere where they already have the talent. Because like even if he does go to Atlanta, like they got to draft a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback right now.
Yeah.
They have
talent, but
they have everything but a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's almost like the opposite with the Chargers. Like they have the skill position, they need the O-line.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think the Falcons have a good O-line. They have some good skill position guys. You know, Drake London.
Maybe they trade for Justin Fields.
Yeah.
That'd be a really good idea. I mean, I
love Fields.
I was loving the idea of the Jets trading for him, but I mean, I think we got to save our capital for either Devontae Adams or somebody. But who knows?
They tried to someone on the Pat McAfee show on Aaron Rodgers Tuesday was like, "Yeah, Devontae Adams gonna look really good in green and white next year, huh?" And he just kind of laughed it off. He's like, "That's my boy. That's my homie." That's exactly what he said.
It would be. I think I would be stunned just because Joe